Awesome. Well, we're good to go. Well, I appreciate you hopping on, man. And I am incredibly excited to have you on here. It was awesome meeting you down at the Church IT conference. I'm glad we got connected. And then we got several other things going on now
Yeah.
as far as connections go with this. But excited to have you on here. And I think you've got an interesting security perspective that several people might not have in this space. And I know that you are a firm believer in Jesus Christ yourself. And so I'm excited to hear how you put a little bit of the holy flair on Holy Secure. So if you wouldn't mind maybe making an intro for yourself and talking a little bit about who you are, what you do, and what y'all do at Holy Secure.
Sure. Well, first, thanks, Zach, for letting me come on and talk a little bit about what we do. Yeah, it was really great to meet you at the CITN conference. It's fun when you can connect with somebody and you got so many things in common and you even serve the same audience, and it's great. So thank you, first and foremost. Yeah, Holy Secure. This company got started a little over 2 years ago now, when a church I used to attend in Florida, where I'm from originally, got hit with a $250,000 phishing scam. And that's a big church. They have like an 800 headcount school and 1,500 members. So I went to the leadership and I'm like, guys, you have the budget. Like, where's your cyber? Where's your security? My background in cyber is actually in DoD subcontractor compliance evaluations and making sure, like next to 153 and now CMMC is rolling out. I would be part of a team that would go help and make sure everything's checked and all the boxes are done, and everything's configured correctly for your compliance. So with that background, I went to the church leadership. I'm like, what's going on? Are you compliant? Are you like, what are you doing? What's your cybersecurity program like? And they looked at me like I had two heads. Like, we're a church. Who wants to hack a church? Criminals want to hack churches. Lots of people want to hack churches. Churches have a plethora of valuable data, valuable information that they don't realize that they have, and they don't protect it because they don't have the budget or they don't know they should. And so that's what Holy Secure got started out of, was as a way to respond to incidents like this. So we offer a suite of services, everything from security assessments, just initial high level, what's going on. We offer compliance specific evaluations. So depending on your state, depending on what kind of data you handle, we'll look at what your practices, your documentation, if you have any. Most of the time they don't, and see if you're in compliance with whatever regulations apply to you in your specific instance. And then we also offer a strategic cyber roadmap. So if you have an internal team and you want to do implementation, everything yourself, we can give you the roadmap to get there. We also offer managed security service, powered by one of the biggest modular cybersecurity platforms in the world. We use them to great success with our customers. And then we also have a consulting you can do on demand. And then we have a consulting and incident response retainer, where if you get hit with a cyber attack and you're one of our customers, we actually will remediate and help you fix everything involved in the incident, PR, actually recover your systems and everything, patch your systems. Most of the time it's because something wasn't updated and you clicked on something. We'll come in and we'll do all that for free. There's no extra charge for that. It's all included, which normally the cost of, if I remember correctly, the average cost of a cyber attack for a small business is somewhere around $150,000 to $200,000.
It wipes them out.
Yeah, it wipes them out. If you're a small business, if you're a small church, if you got 200 members, there's a client I've been working to onboard for a while now. They're a small church. They got like 250 members. If they got hit with $100,000 cyber attack that they got to pay for, not to mention any sort of lawsuits that might happen if depending on whose data was breached and how. It's hard to survive that. Yeah. So that's kind of a summary of what we do at a high level. But basically our mission is to help churches and nonprofits get up to regulatory and compliance standards for their cybersecurity. And we don't go after big churches like most MSPs do. There's some big MSPs out there that are church focused. They do a great job. I know a lot of those guys out there, super cool guys. We don't want to touch their clients because they're too big than what we typically like to do. We want to target the churches that are 1,500 members or less, that might have one or two IT people on staff, or maybe you have a full IT team, but you don't have the cybersecurity piece. We just come in and click in as a cybersecurity department for you. That's who we try and serve. And we have scalable pricing. So we go all the way down to one pastor is the only employee, and you got 100 members, all the way up to 1,500. And we're actually talking to one church that's well beyond that, but to be that cybersecurity department for them.
That's awesome. And so, with that said, you guys are almost an outsourced cybersecurity department that they wouldn't be able to afford otherwise, which I think is
Yeah, in a way, for sure.
yeah, because most churches, I mean, unless you're kind of pushing the 50 plus staff member mark, you might be struggling to find a true IT director for that matter, and let alone talk about, cybersecurity in specific, which is particularly important. I don't know kind of the landscape that you're seeing with several of your clients, but I've seen a lot of mine that are having some challenges in the cybersecurity space, to say the least. I've seen kind of an uptick in and really some sophisticated attacks too. I mean, what are some of the things that you're seeing? What are some of the trends that you're seeing as far as cybersecurity in the nonprofit space?
So, I mean, the biggest threat that I've seen repeatedly is there's actually two. Number one is ignorance, is lack of education, lack of awareness. They click on something they shouldn't. I get notifications almost every day that someone clicked on something they shouldn't, and we had to go remediate that and isolate the machine and fix it practically every day. The second one is kind of tied to that, and that's phishing emails. I mean, it's so easy now for some person overseas or some person here locally to type up their phishing email, or even to just use ChatGPT, plug it in, make it sound like proper English, which used to be one of the indicators now, and get the super convincing, really intricate, detailed, it sounds like the person, it looks like it's from that person, an email that says, hey, I need gift cards for the VBS coming up next week, and we're going to give away these I want to give away, $100 gift cards to 20 of our volunteers. So can you go get those gift cards for me from pastor, whatever. And there's no punctuation errors, there's no spelling errors, there's none of those typical factors that used to be there for what would indicate a phishing, it was a phishing email, because of AI, and not to mention like AI and empowered AI enhanced polymorphic malware and any of that other more crazy stuff. Just clicking on stuff and being convinced to click stuff or go do stuff is still the number one. I mean, human error is still number one.
Yeah. And I can't remember if I talked about this on another one of these kind of like fireside chats or whatnot, but I recall, what was this? Maybe 5-6 months ago, there was a really sophisticated attempt to try to get some of our data. And fortunately, I work in IT, of course, and so I had a little bit of a leg up to know something was wrong. But whoever it was trying to get the data, they had made a LinkedIn profile for this person, posted for several weeks and whatnot, made it look kind of legit. They made a website and put together a full website for this company, and then delivered an email to me that was like an RFP for a client that we had been talking to.
Wow.
And so they were able to see somehow, I'm not sure exactly what they ended up doing in the back end, but they must have compromised their systems, saw that we were a technology vendor, reached out to us, knew that we were doing some sort of technology for them. And we got this whole entire barrage of things that would traditionally look legit. I think it's because they knew that asking for gift cards from the IT guy was certainly not going to work. This was not going to work either, but they tried to put their best foot forward.
Yeah.
And it looked real. Like it really looked real. And I can only imagine some of the stuff that might happen for maybe a volunteer who's out of the workforce, has not seen this develop. Maybe they're retired and spending some time donating their talents and treasures to the ministry, and they haven't been at a company in 10 years, and they have not seen this crazy stuff develop. That could totally fool someone. And it was just alarming to me to think about that.
It is. And I mean, it's honestly kind of sad because, like you were just saying, these people are giving, their golden years, or they're retired, or they're giving, selflessly. Oftentimes I run into a lot of churches where their IT guys, some volunteer, typically someone's retired, and it's really sad because they're going to get taken advantage of. And then that person's going to feel like absolute garbage because they lost, some asset, or they were the weak link in the church's defense. I mean, it's really a sad situation when you run into that. But that's actually why Holy Secure, we're working on developing an e-course for church staff and volunteers for end user training. There's lots of end user trainings out there, but we're trying to create one that's specifically for those volunteers and those staff that work at churches, because they are a totally different totally different demographic. See, I haven't had my coffee yet.
One of those mornings.
Totally different demographic than, you're right, than what you would find in a corporate, situation, or even most small businesses, is because they're typically older, or they're usually not tech literate. And so we're trying to create something for that specific problem, because like you were just saying, it just gets worse and worse, and they're the perfect target for a cyber criminal.
Yeah. I almost equate this similarly to some of these things with like financial scams on TikTok, where people are like, oh, you'll make all this money and this and that. And it's funny because that usually gets the younger generation, because the younger generation isn't as experienced in how money works and how a lot of that stuff is just not possible. And then you've got, the other stuff to scam the older generation, which is, through uses of advanced technology. And it's so sad that people try to exploit that kind of thing. But of course, there's people like yourself and myself who are kind of dedicated to beefing up the security at these organizations and serving people like that. And so I think that that's really cool. I imagine you've probably seen some like really unusual things, and maybe you haven't, maybe a lot of it's kind of the same, but I'm curious, like, what's kind of the most unusual cybersecurity or IT problem that you've run into and maybe solved? And you might have to take some time to think about that, but I'm wondering.
Yeah, it's a great question. Probably the most unique problem I've seen, well, there's two that really pop out. One is where a pastor had his personal PayPal hooked up as the online donation platform for a church, their website. He wasn't doing anything wrong with it. They just didn't understand that you need to have a specific corporate one, and because this is not secure, because he could have been siphoning funds off. It was kind of an awkward conversation. But that one was a unique. And then one I've run into a lot, and this is actually something we're working on pretty aggressively this month, is churches with schools. Because they have kids data, and they have to have COPPA compliance, COPPA compliance, which is a whole nother thing. But the very first church I talked to that had a school, they kept the vaccination records of all of their students for each class in a folder sitting on the teacher's desk that just sat there all the time. And all the doors were open. They didn't lock any doors. As a policy, they didn't lock any doors. And I kind of looked at the headmaster, and I was like, so you're telling me that vaccination records that have names, email address, social security number, and medical information of all these kids and of their parents is sitting on your desk, not locked away, in an open public space? Yes. Okay. Yeah. No. You're going to go get a lock. You're going to go to Ace Hardware. You're going to get a lock. You're going to get a filing cabinet, and we're going to fix this right now before we do anything else. I mean, it kind of goes back to just people, they're just not aware of all the different vectors of attack that they have. In cybersecurity, we use the term attack surface, right? Like, how big of a target are you? How many areas and how many avenues do we have to attack your organization? That's coming into your facility, whether that's digital, whether that's fully remote, your social media, your staff. If someone's super dedicated, they could come in, fake being a Christian, go through the membership class, and start volunteering on your staff, and then plug a USB into the pastor's computer and walk away and never be seen again.
That's the real wolf in sheep's clothing. That's a physical example, or a tangible example, to say the least.
It is. But I mean, we as believers like to assume the best in people. And when you talk to them about cyber, when you talk to a church leadership about cybersecurity, you kind of have to assume the worst in people in order to set up your defenses appropriately.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's a hard pill to swallow.
Yeah. Man, I'm sorry. I'm not crying because your story is so sad. I got like an eyelash in my eye, and now I'm having trouble seeing here. So,
no, you just miss me so much.
I miss you. Yeah. And it'll be good to see you here soon. So,
yeah.
But yeah, no, that totally makes sense. I mean, and I have not experienced any of kind of those physical, situations and whatnot, but I have heard of, some sort of physical penetration tests that have gone on, where they'll come in with a USB or a cable that's built out to collect the data. And it is really crazy to think that, I mean, I guess I was looking for an example of an iPhone charger or whatnot, but you can put things into an iPhone charger that will transmit a wireless signal, several hundred feet. I think it's up to miles, actually. I can't remember what the number
Really
is.
Up to miles now? Jeez.
I don't know what it is. I mean, it's crazy technology at that point, but it'll just load the data right to wherever they're trying to get it. And that's why you never want to plug anything into a port that you're not really familiar with, or a cable you're not familiar with. But there's all of these very sophisticated and really just it is a pure example of evil, is really what it is. And when you think about the church space and the spiritual warfare involved in that, I mean, there's no, I guess, complete defense against that. And of course, with the opposition that comes with the gospel, of course, you're going to probably see a significant amount of that, unfortunately, unfold in the church space. So there's a lot of protection required. So yeah, it's really a challenge.
And I mean, we're all humans, right? So we're all flawed. We're all going to make mistakes, and we all have to accept that we live in a broken world, and there's no way to get around that. So like I was saying before, I think it's just a hard pill for people to swallow, because no, people are bad. People are out to hurt you. And because you are a church, some people are out especially to hurt you specifically because you're a church. Yeah. It's just sad because, we desire to show the love of God, and sometimes it feels unloving to be proactively defensive, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm curious too. I mean, that the defense to put up is often very expensive in this space. It tends to be, I mean, depending on what you're putting in place, but it could be $20-$30 a person per month to put in a sophisticated solution like this. And so I'm curious, how do you guys approach, obviously, with these smaller organizations, balancing security needs with those limited budgets, and what kind of creative solutions have you guys put together for those organizations that are effectively facing what is a resource constraint? Yeah,
that's a great question. So, I mean, the first thing I would challenge on that actually is that cybersecurity is expensive at $20 to $30 a person. And I would challenge that, because if you're going to go with like a full MSP, or if you're going to look at what it costs for a breach, $20-$30 per person ain't that bad. If you're looking at an MSP, you're looking at 100. Even nonprofit pricing is $125 per person.
Yeah.
So I mean, what we do, and it's funny that you said $20 to $30 an hour, or $30 per person, because our managed security platform is about that pricing. It's $25 to $30 per person, and that's on our higher end pricing. If we have more employees, then obviously we can do some discounts, but we keep our pricing as low as possible because we understand that your budgets are really tight. I mean, it is going to be a day when pigs fly when I come into a church that has 250 members that has $1 million in their budget. It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
So we offer the managed security service it starts at $25 an hour on the high end. That's our cap for these smaller organizations. And then for our retainer program, this is where we try and help churches over long term get secure and compliant and start that process and build everything out. That starts at $100 a month, which that includes, we work on drafting policies. We do your cyber renovation and compliance roadmap. We build that out for you, and then we implement it for you over time, instead of us giving it to you to do it yourself. If you want an initial assessment, just like, where are we with our cyber? Where are we with our compliance? What's going on? It's $125. I mean, if you don't have $125 to go and make sure that, or see where you're at, I don't think I can help you at all.
Yeah.
And the unfortunate part, the unfortunate reality is that we have to eat. We have to make sure our business runs, so we have to charge something. And a lot of churches come to expect some things for free.
Yeah.
So we do give away a lot for free. We have a lot of resources, a lot of PDFs that we give away on our website right now. If you go, you can get our guide, our 3 steps to secure your church from common cyber attacks. We have a lot of those resources. Our end user training program that we're rolling out is going to be $10. Like, and that's it. It's $10. You get all the resources. You get the whole. It's on-demand video training. You get your certificate at the end, we recommend you get it. It expires every 6 months, so you can pay $10 per employee, or I mean, I don't care if you pay $10 and you get all 10 people in one room and you do it. That's fine. But we do try and keep everything as cost conscious as possible, because churches survive off of donations, and people donate when they feel compelled or when they feel generous. And sometimes people don't feel compelled and they don't feel generous. And sometimes you're going to have a lot of young people in the church that might not have a lot of money. Like one of the churches my brother goes to, one of my brothers goes to this church right now, and it's probably 75 to 80% college kids.
Wow.
Like, great young demographic, very passionate church.
Yeah.
But they're a very poor church. Right? Like, just practically they are, and that's okay. But that's where we try, and we have the pricing that scales based on your size.
Yeah. Well, I think that's definitely a great way to put it. And I think, to your point, kind of the cost of a breach, the cost of the reputation that could be ruined from something like that, really the cost of the disaster that it would be to try to put everything back together.
Yeah.
It's a lot less expensive to just train people. And that's one of the things I see as kind of the least expensive way of keeping an environment safe is simply training. And for you to put together a course like that, again, having all the people in the room could be a way of saving a little bit of money. It's a little challenging. It's expensive. You got to pay for the time that you're paying each of those individuals. All good, because guaranteed that will be the most valuable meeting from an IT standpoint in the whole year. If you do it one time a year, valuable meeting IT wise that you could possibly have is training your staff on safe cyber hygiene, if you will. I think that's a great way to put it. Well, we're kind of leaning towards the end here, and I wanted to get to kind of your coffee stuff too.
Okay.
I know you got a little coffee operation as well, and I wanted to give a little bit of attention to that, maybe not the majority of it, but tell us about what that's all about and what you guys do there. And it's got a
so that company got started when I kept going into churches, and I'll talk about cybersecurity and compliance. And I'm in the South. I'm in South Carolina. So most of the time when you go into a church, there's going to be some beautiful, sweet old lady. We'll name her Brenda. Brenda is like a cornerstone of the community. She's been there for 30 years. She's the church secretary. She's the admin, whatever title you want to give Brenda. I go in, I tell Brenda, hey, I'm here to meet with Pastor so-and-so, director, what's his face, whatever. Okay, honey. And she goes, and she comes back and she brings me a cup of coffee. And you kind of cringe a little bit because you can smell that it's Folgers when she's bringing it to you, but you got to take a sip because you don't want to hurt Brenda's feelings. And I got sick of church coffee really, really fast because it's so bad. I called up a friend of mine. He's a client of mine for a different company that I run. And he is a craft coffee roaster in East Tennessee. And what we did is we set up a website. It's Holy Roasters, spelled the same way, Holy, and the roasters, coffeeco.com. It's pretty simple. I need to renovate and make it pretty. But you go on there, and we have 12 ounce, 2 pounds, and 5 pounds. We have 5 roasts. We have an organic single origin Mexican coffee, which is really good. Our dark roast is exceptional. It's a Sumatra Colombia blend. We have an espresso roast, a light roast, which is single origin Guatemalan. And then we also have a decaf, which is Swiss water processed. So there's no chemicals in it. It's a chemical-free decaffeination process. So it's super good. And we just rolled out K-Cups, actually.
Oh, nice.
Right here.
That's cool.
So you can go on the website and order K-Cups. We're hoping this year to roll out fractional packs. So a lot of churches have like these big bun machines where they pull out the little coffee carafe and they take the little bag and they stick it in there and stick it in. So we are working with our roaster to get those get those branded for us as well, so we can have those at churches. And what we do is when you order on the website, it's fresh roasted to order, and then it ships. So it takes a little extra time to get to you, but it's roasted fresh, and it's amazing. That's awesome. We try and get churches on a subscription model, so you can have fresh roasted coffee every Sunday and make your church coffee a heavenly experience.
I love it. Is that the that the tagline? You guys
It is, yes.
Well, that's awesome, man. Yeah, I think it's cool. I mean, churches are notorious for horrible coffee. It's like it's a staple.
It is. We ran a campaign last year, and it was all church coffee sucks.
Yeah,
and everyone's like, "Yep."
Yeah,
you see the tagline. Yep.
Single person who's really craving church coffee each morning.
I met a guy who told me that they put salt in their Folgers for their church coffee, and I'm like, why would you do this to yourself? It's awful, so bad.
Yeah, they got to make a church creamer now, because you get that awful creamer that you pump out.
That's true. Yeah, I mean, I recommend just getting half and half or something. Like that weird chemical pump is no good.
Yeah, it's bizarre.
You ever watch that? You ever watch that MythBusters episode where they took the powdered coffee creamer and it exploded and made this giant fireball?
I gotta go find this.
Yeah, you gotta go find it. It's pretty good.
They discontinued that. That is the saddest thing when they stopped doing MythBusters. But
yeah, it was pretty sad.
Well, cool. Well, I appreciate you sharing that, man. That's awesome. I know you kind of mentioned where to find you on that, but kind of just wrap everything up here. If there was one piece of advice from, well, let's do two pieces of advice. Let's do one from coffee, just for fun, and one from cybersecurity. If you had, one piece of advice to offer to organizations that are, I guess, struggling with their IT or their cybersecurity needs in particular, struggling with coffee in particular, what would those pieces of advice be? And then finally, how can viewers connect with you, and any final thoughts you got?
Okay. Yeah. Well, thanks for having me on and facilitating this conversation. It's always great to talk to you. So I'll start with coffee. So, I mean, coffee is community. Community is wrapped around coffee, and you can build, there's whole communities and brands built around how good or bad coffee is. If you want to enhance your community experience for your coffee, go to holyroasterscoffeeco.com, subscribe. You get discounts for if you get like weekly or bi-weekly. We're about to roll out monthly subscriptions available as well. But I mean, when you put intentionality into those details, you're more likely to keep membership, because they see that you care about the little things, and B, also just have a better Sunday, because no one wants to leave church with a bitter taste in their mouth of bad coffee. And then on the cybersecurity side, just be proactive. I mean, just because you're small or just because you're a church does not mean you're not a target, and doesn't mean that you're not going to be a target. With the emergence of AI right now, a lot of these attacks are becoming automated, so they don't even have to look at you to target you anymore. You need to be proactive. I mean, obviously, I want to say go to Holy Roaster or go to holysecure.com. We do have free guides up there. Join our email list. We have a lot more resources rolling out here soon. I'm trying to find a way to say this nicely, but I'm just going to say it bluntly. Don't be ignorant. Don't be foolish. You need to be a good steward of the data you have. Your congregation trusts you to handle that information, and you need to handle it responsibly. So either talk to Zach at Lamb Telecom. I mean, they're amazing. We're partners with them. Or just find us at holysecure.com. You can email me directly at getsecure@holysecure.com. At least for us, if you're going to come to us, just let us start with an initial assessment. Let's see what you have going on, and let's see where you need to go, because you can't sit on this. You can't be passive about this. This is something, you can't be sluggard about it today. Can't push it off till tomorrow. Do it today. Just be proactive.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think that's great. Get the coffee, get a little boost, and then go make cybersecurity happen. I do like the thing about the mailing list. Even I'm on it, so if I can be on it, so can you. So I'd recommend anybody join that, and there's a lot of value out of it. So appreciate it, John. Thank you so much, man. And yeah, looking forward to connecting soon here. And otherwise, yeah, have a great rest of your day, man.
You too, buddy. Good to see you. Talk soon.